not everything is going to be a hit straight away. And I think a lot of people are so convinced that like, I'm going to make it work. And if it doesn't work, I'm out, you know? And I think, you know, that at this point, you're able to develop a story, develop a following, and you're able to do it in a way that there's, especially with the indie, especially with Kickstarter, especially with the crowdfunding scene, that has been a huge help to people who never had a chance before to tell a story, right? Especially in comics. And even like, you know, we're going to go into talking about you guys with the music scene, but being able to come in and like, not only just go, hey, we're thinking about making a film, but that's like in the hundreds of thousands. But now we can go into comics. Yet then we can also go to Kickstarter. Yet we can also help people get people to help us fund it. Yet we still don't have those people telling us what we can do and what we can't do, what we should do, what we shouldn't do with the story we're trying to tell. How has that, like that freedom that has allowed you to like just do it your way been for you as storytellers?
You know, for myself, I wasn't very good in school because, and once again, I'm not saying that there was too many rules, but I recognize the importance that rules need to be there. So we have, if you don't have any rules, then you don't know what you can bend and what you can break. You know, I understand the structure has to be there. I just didn't fit into any structure. And I want to segue a little bit actually and talk about, so we have another comic that we produce that has taken a complete rule breaking. It's broken every comic book rule. Like we're not doing it in a conventional way at all. And that is a superhero comic. But again,
an anti-hero comic.
Yeah, it's you know, more fictional and it's got powers and all that. And what that is really, you know, when most bands get started, they print T-shirts and they sell it at shows to raise money. Yeah. I had been down that road before and I realized it was an absolute black hole expenditure. Mm-hmm. So when Aaron suggested, hey, since we're working on a comic, why don't we make a comic as merchandise for the band based off the band members? Yeah. And we said, okay, let's develop that. Let's work on that. And we didn't want to do it in a conventional way at all. The goal was we printed 150 copies to begin with. So they were limited.
We numbered them, put a little sort of limited box as the first printing.
And we took it to shows to start selling it. And that was about 2 months ago.
What was that? No, October we started.
October?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is that?
With a show, what, once a month?
Yeah, about 3 months ago, one show a month. And I think we're down to about 20 copies left now. Which showed us that, you know, there really was an interest in that. So as soon as Gods Among Men is out, we will be working on, that's the, yeah.
Yeah, that's the top left, the Anna comic. So.
Is it, Anna, you talking about here?
Yeah,
yes.
This one here?
So that is our other, well, technically our first comic. Yeah, that was something that we wanted, you know, when we kind of broke the rules on that one where we were kind of, oh, thank you kindly.
Love it. It's really cool. I mean, like I'm all about like comics and art. Like if the art draws me in, I'm in, right? Because
Ben Sullivan again doing his amazing work.
I love the perspective on the middle one. Like this is something I've been talking to one of my artists. It's like his perspective is what drew me into his art style, right? Because a lot of people don't really think about perspective when it comes to stuff. They just place things there. And so you can look at here, like he goes on an angle, right? And that helps him really decide how the sizes of the characters and where they fit in. So this is cool, man. So you said you had 20 left?
Yes. So out of 150 copies that we made, we're down to about the last 20.
How much are you selling those for?
So we've been selling them for $15. So that's kind of where we broke the rules on both sides, where for the most part, comics generally don't sell for that much unless there's some kind of special edition.
Oh, because this is also like our preview, so it's only 6 pages long.
Yeah,
right.
It's a 6-page comic, you know, which is the positive thing is we've had people read it and they went like, oh, it feels like longer, you know, like there's more in there. But for us, it was that we knew we weren't going to try and sell it as a comic at conventions, at in comic shops or whatever, because it sort of didn't fit in that category. Whereas when we took it and treated it like band merchandise, suddenly it was like we've got some of the cheapest merch in town. You know, because nobody else had, first off, nobody else had a comic book, and then nobody else had a comic, had merchandise. Anything that was down to $15 was something like a stubby holder or like a keychain. And we said, well, we, you know, comic book, and we figured because we, you know, have gotten deep into this comic world, we said, we're not just going to create, you know, a gimmick or a one shot. I remember that day that I said to Josh and Anna, Anna, obviously the lead singer of the band, I said to them, I said, I can see this being a comic. And then they were on their way out to the shops, and they said, okay, let's think about it. Let's just sort of, you know, brew it in the mind for a bit. They went out, came back 20 minutes later. Josh looked at me and he went, I've got it. I was like, what? You've got what? He said, the whole concept. And so you can see, again, the wellspring idea, then the facilitator, I pull out my notebook. All right, let's start writing, you know, how it works.
Yeah. So we are going to start work on a full issue that will, this will be after Gods Among Men is out, and we'll get to work on the full issue, and they'll be coming real soon this year.
Right. So tell us about the music side of this thing, since we're on here, right? Good way, segue to get into that. So I don't know what you guys know about me, but like I also like 2 years, you know, like end of 2022, I did I co-managed a convention which allowed me to get a couple, you know, a grand in the pocket. So I went and decided to buy myself a bass, which I hadn't owned a bass for at least since I was like about 20 years old, because I used to, you know, when I was in my younger years, in my teens, right, late teens, I used to play bass for a punk band as well as, like, you know, later on a youth band. And so then, you know, and guitar later on, like in the 90s, so on, in 2000s. But I've always loved the bass as an instrument. And so I ended up picking up that one bass I always wanted, but I never could afford as a teenager, right? You know, and because I rather spend $60 on comics and albums and cassettes as a teenager in the 80s, late 80s, than to go and spend about you know, $700 to $1,000 on just the bass itself. So last year, like man, it's gone too fast. End of 2022, having done this job, I slowly paid off a Jackson black bass that I've always wanted, because Mustaine at that time, bigger than, you know, still #1 band in the world for me, used to play Jackson. Right. Yeah, and so I ended up, so that's what I do 20 minutes almost every night before I go to bed, you know, work on riffs. So for me, music has been as much a part of my life as has comics, but comics came first. You know, as an 8-year-old kid, you know, you don't think about music, you just listen to music. You don't think about playing it unless you've got somebody in your family who's actually going to say, hey, Dad's a musician, so go and pick up that guitar and start playing it. And one of the things, and that's kind of like a huge, people don't realize that parents have a huge influence when it comes to kids actually learning about, you know, learning on playing music and stuff. And one of the people I've been watching recently is this this young girl. Let me just bring it up. And her dad, and just a support. And this is in Vietnam, by the way, right? So I think she's called Nene Royale. So I'm going to bring this up and show you, spell the name right. And so every night, is that one? Yeah. So every night, Nene will go on and do a concert in front of, like, live, and perform at this marketplace. And let me make sure the volume's right here. And she will go out there and play in front of people, and it's live streamed, right, on her on a YouTube channel. And she'll play. Oh, hold on. Let me pop out of there. It's annoying me. Excuse me. So so we'll set up this whole segue into music in a sec. So
Awesome.
I saw, like, so for me, I get excited by young kids getting into anything artistic, right? That's the same reason we're doing the convention scene here, with with Plunge convention locally here in Whangarei. We've done it for the last 5 years. Taking a break this year, because I need a bit of what is it called? Sabbatical.
Rest. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of rest, right? After 5 years in a row, you kind of like, okay, I need a break. So one, that's Anna there. I'll get to Anna. Thank you for that. So watching Nene, it's been recent, like it's only been the last couple of months. It came, I think it just popped up on my Facebook page. I mean, not sorry, YouTube homepage, and because music has been part of my life as long as I can remember. My nephew is like the one that we just played before we got on here. I started putting this on a couple, like a year ago or something. I heard him play, and he said, I've done this, and I said, well, why don't you share it with the world, right? Why don't you get it out there on YouTube? Why don't you get it out there on Bandcamp? Let people know how good you are, and let them decide for, if they are interested in your music. And so I was quite excited when he finally did it. And so he's put out about 6-7 songs on YouTube, and he's able to do that. But then this thing came across as well. And I watched this girl, and it was like in a mall setting. And then I kept, following through. And then I see her, she's performing live at this young age. I think she's about 13 or 14 here. And, and her whole thing is that she's learning English better and be able to create music. And she does like covers and, and so on of music that I, as a kid, would never think of doing, like as a music. So let me play some of this. And I think, I'm not sure. Yeah, so this is Vietnam, right? Phuket. And this is just like a couple of days ago.
Right.
Now, one of the things about her is that she's actually got fans all over the world now. By that people have just been able to see her because, I mean, while they're traveling overseas to Vietnam, because they've seen her on YouTube and stuff, they'll go to the market, right? They'll go and spend money there, and she's become like this local icon, right? Pop star, because of her talent. And if you look at the equipment there, that's a lot of expensive equipment that her parent has put in there. But not only that, there's also the fact that people are watching, are donating, what is that called? Leaving, I don't know what they call that when you're busking, right? Leaving a couple of bucks. And people, because, she's got a wide repertoire, as you can see, the crowd, they're not, Vietnamese, right? So they're from all over the world. There's Russians there were Europeans there, Americans. And she's doing stuff like System of a Down, like chop suey. I'm like, how? That takes a lot of effort to do chop suey, right? The way that was this dude? What's his name?
Serge Tankian.
Yeah, yeah, and he lives up the road, up in Kerikeri over here, right? A couple
really?
towns over. Yeah, in New Zealand. He lives in New Zealand. He's got a vineyard.
Oh wow, no way.
And one of my friends, like book I pulled out, he's actually met him. He just saw, he's walking down the road. So he's actually lives up here now in New Zealand. But watching these young kids get support from their families is what really, I think, is amazing. And I think one of the things when we do our conventions, that's one thing I want to impress upon our adult family members that come, their guardians, parents, that listen, if the kid is interested, and by kid I mean girl or daughter, boy, if they're interested at whatever age, just get them a pen and paper or cut them a pencil and go. If you see them, just put it in front of them. Go spend a couple of bucks and let them decide if that's what they want to do. And if they decide not to, hey, don't worry about it, right? But at least they got to cut their teeth and have a chance at trying something out. But you look at this young girl here, Nene, right? Like I was saying, there's equipment here, and because she's honed her skill, and her dad's been, like her family's been supported. I mean, she's got a little sister, and there's about 2 other little kids with siblings there. But that's allowed her to now support her family through her music as well, as her parents have supported her, right, with the busking and stuff. And now she's there every night, just about, I don't know, 3-4 nights a week at the market as the entertainment, because she's at that level, as she's grown to that level, to be able to show their music thing. And so with that, I'm just going to, like I mentioned earlier, I had my nephew, right, before do his song, and then we'll move into Anna and your guys' band. So, and then like having my, at the start of this now, I started, as because he did it, I now have to go, I said to him the other week, I said, hey, can I use your music, right? As rather than using somebody's royalty-free music, how about I use your music at the start of my stream, because this is now me paying back, because I got you to go put it on online. Now I get to use it, right? And then to show people that, hey, this is my nephew and this is his talent. And it's totally different to what Nene's doing. Nene's into metal, playing guitar, whereas Josiah's writing original songs, with his band, and performing sometimes with his older sister, Ella, who's like the actual person who's the name of the character, who actually named a character in my superhero comic, Incredi-Girl, right? She named, and so I wrote the comic book for her so she could have a female superhero, and when she was like about 7. So, I get to use his music, and you get his. Let me just play a bit of that, and then we'll move over to it. I want to grab this. Now,
oh, the loudest days are still quiet.
It's like this. I'm like, what the hell?
But they're easier with you. Well, that's what you told me.
So now let's pop over to Anna, and now thank you for that link, by the way. I really appreciate that. And let's talk about the band, because this is and how you guys got together, and because this is, like I said, it's another form of creativity. Arts is like I think would be such a gray kind of world without the arts and without creative people, because music, paintings, sculptures, toys, comic books, novels, TV, pop culture and everything that encompasses, is such a great way to, I don't know what it is. Without it would be so dreary, without storytelling and stuff like that. And with music, it's another form of storytelling. So tell us about how you guys got in. I'm going to play a song first, right? And then we'll get you guys to talk about that.
Times and days have come and gone. Times and nights and less on.
We talk now, or I'm not sure.
Hold on.
No, go ahead.
We are kings of grace of a crown of thorns, a burning rose. Do you know the path that you chose? Too many times I have cried. Too many lies them away. But this one's so you can take. Just close your eyes, look inside, and it's there that you'll find me. Burning flames, dreams to life. Sorry for lighting my side. No, no more lights. Try as I may, I cannot die. You let my eyes will transpire. So watch me as I rise. A thousand brights.
Awesome. I love the hooks, man.
Thank you.
All right.
I want to jump in there, and this video is probably a great example as to why the comic got made. And I'll let Josh explain this, but the band's look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we put this band together, you know, everyone has such a distinct style about them that I think perfectly suits the comic medium.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've created these fictional backstories for each character, and it kind of explains, you know, why are they in masks.
I was because like I'm a huge metal fan, right? So I was listening to it because I wanted to see if this is a music that I could get into and the hooks work. I was listening to the lead guitar and like I was picking like, you know, and I like, and then like just the what I call the bridge break, right? You know, it's just it works, and I like and like a lot of music right nowadays, doesn't work for me, and so I just go back to what I enjoyed in the past, right? So but this, I like the concept. I love the concept idea, and I see why you mean it. Why, you know, why you'd create a backstory for everybody and there's a mask. And then when we looked at the other artwork there, they all wore the mask and stuff. And so tell me, as like a, you know, like a pitch, like what was the idea behind setting up the band? How did the band come together? Because we never had anybody in here who does comics and also has a band, right? So how did the band get started? How did Anna get started?
So, you know, Anna's been, and myself, we both been writing and performing for a very long time, but separately. You know, I had my own band called The Nation, and Anna was doing stuff as a solo artist and working, you know, as a performer. And finally, we decided, you know, because my band, the members live in Singapore,
Right.
so I was not able to continuously, you know, do the band. Like, we couldn't play shows, we could only record. And Anna wanted to, you know, do something where she could go out and perform and, you know, really have a proper go at it. So in the end, we said, you know, let's work together and we'll start something new. And we both love heavy music, even though Anna is more inclined towards pop music. So it really was a marriage of the two. You know, if you take the singing and the melodies out, if you just listen to the backing music, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of elements of even black metal music and drumming.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting juxtaposition where it was new. Like, you know, can this work? Can you play such heavy backing music, but with more pop orientated vocals? And once we started working on it, we realized, yeah, I think it works. And that's something that I understand, you know, you're probably the second person this week who brought up modern music to me.
Yeah.
And I too do not listen to a lot of modern music because I feel they shied away from a lot of things which maybe they consider old-fashioned now, but they were things that were of value that they have kind of neglected. You know, things like hooks, songs being based on riffs. You know, I think it's really important that there's a lot of focus now in this in the social media age on flashy things. You know, so like myself as a guitarist, there's a lot of stuff that's designed for YouTube. I'm sorry, not YouTube, Instagram and TikTok, where it's 15 seconds of very flashy playing.
Yeah.
But I asked myself, like, at the end of that 15 seconds, can I remember the melody?
Yeah.
You know, and I get bored watching videos like that. It's interesting for maybe about 10 minutes.
Mm.
And then after that, it becomes the same thing. So when we write for Anna, a lot of consideration is placed on, you know, people need to be able to remember your melody and sing it straight away.
I like using that term. How singable is your solo? You know, I think some of the best classic metal and rock songs, you can sing the solo.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like thinking like that way, like, you know, because I think this week I've been listening to a lot of Iron Maiden, right? Because I was listening to the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and I think somewhere in there I had like the one with it, I think it was like the Trooper or something.
Yeah.
And so it's two different albums playing at the same time, and you know, what you call it, like randomly through each other's song, and a lot of that, like, and Seven Sons from like 1988, and I still can enjoy the whole, you know, what is it called? The Evil That Men Do, right? It's like that's just like, and you know, the Evil That Men Do, only the good. What is it like? The evil.
The Evil That Men Do goes on and on.
Yeah, and it's like the only the good die young, and the evil seem to live forever. You know, and it's like if you don't have a hook song lyric or whatever that remains in your head, and especially with melody, I've listened to a lot of like new music that I don't even remember. Like you said, like 10 minutes later, I can't remember any of the songs later on. Whereas I can remember these songs because, you know, they stood out to me and I could remember them. And I think that's why when I was listening to this Ouroboros song, I could, like, you know, get into it with the rhythm, with the bridge, with the lead as well. And it kind of reminded me of Evanescence, you know, back in like about, I think it was about 2000, mid 2000s when they came out. It's kind of like you could understand why that worked, because like the music was very heavy, right? Yet, oh wow, is that they don't like? That's weird. Like, so they whoever owns your music basically stream struck us for copyright music. It's probably Sony again. Sony has a tendency to strike.
Well, our songs we're not with Sony, but they are distributed by Sony.
Yeah. Sony is one of the when it comes to like especially to Facebook, Sony struck my nephew's song, yet he's not even done anything with Sony, you know, and they do it every time. I'm like, you know, then they'll release it like an hour and a half later. All right, it'll be like instantly, and so it's like hour and a half later, you're letting my stream go on. It's like by that point, it's no point. But you know, but then again, we have a live stream and we can like go back and fix it if there's other stuff. But thank you, Ross, for that. But yeah, it's weird how like that also works. Like you can like have it on YouTube, yet you can't play it off YouTube, or even YouTube will copyright strike you for it. But anyway, we got to hear a bit of it, and I'm quite glad we did. And so how did you go? Like you said, you had another band. Now tell us a bit about that band, and then we'll talk about how Anna got formed, right?
Well,
that band called, by the way?
That band was basically me and some childhood friends that we've been playing together since we were kids. And when I moved to Australia, of course, the band kind of broke up.
Yeah.
But we still tried to keep it going. We tried to record, but it's hard, you know, like we only ever played one show live together. And I wanted to really pursue it, and it just wasn't possible. So I think eventually that frustration, letting that go and moving on to do something new together with Anna, you know, a lot of people say, you guys should have done this from the start. Like, it just makes sense for the two of you to work together.
Right.
But it was a process, you know, we needed to get to that point. And eventually when we did, I guess both of us are very driven to do it. So we put insane hours of work into the band. I mean, the band's only about a year old.
Right.
But yeah, a lot's been happening together with the comic, a lot of shows. it's been moving at a pretty good pace. We're very happy with that.
I really like sort of because I've been sort of a part of you know, in the early days I was a little bit spectator, a little bit sort of, you know, helping out here and there, and really seeing the band grow and then starting to really sink my, you know, I'd help, you know, share things and, you know, assisting here and there. But then when it came to things like the comic, like a lot of it came from seeing this band come together. And what was so awesome was, you know, like Josh mentioned before, everybody obviously had a different look, different style, but they also had a different style of music, which they brought. And would you like to explain what the genre?
Someone asked us, like, what do you call your music? So it's almost it's a bit of, you know, I'm trolling a little bit with, you know, how there's so many subgenres these days.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you just said metal, and then from metal it became thrash metal, death metal, black metal. So I said, you know, let's just really lean into it. So we call our style progressive symphonic black popcore. But the reasoning for that was that those were the different elements that each member brought to the band. Oh yeah, you found a live clip.
Yeah, I'm just going to play that at a bit faster rate, so hopefully we can have some background thing on the back there. But I just found this one. So, so how did you guys form Anna? Like, how did that all come about? Because, like you just said, it's been around for about a year. But what was the process of, you know, how did you guys come together on this project?
Well, at the start, it was just myself and Anna. We had a lot of these songs written out just acoustically. Just, you know, but I didn't want to do like a duo and play just an acoustic guitar. So I said, you know, we need to put a band together. And, you know, one by one, we found our drummer first, and then he brought the keyboard player, and the bassist was somebody I had, you know, kind of been stalking for a while because I really wanted him in the band. And yeah, once we got this group together, it was just a matter of playing and building that chemistry and realizing that we played really well together.
I really enjoyed seeing, on top of everyone being so sort of unique in their style, everybody was so capable and they kept pushing each other to sort of go further. And it was funny because at one of the rehearsals, they kind of started egging each other on, and it started to morph into this almost very prog Dream Theater-esque song. And what's great is that with the presence of Anna there, she kind of helps to rein them in as well. Because I think the pop element that Anna brings really makes the music not too alienating, because I love prog, but prog's very alienating. It's like you're in or you're out, you know? Whereas, you know, when I look at it, I see, you know, the songs of Anna to be able to capture, you know, it tugs at, you know, your emotional side or your technical side in some way or another. It doesn't matter who you are. I like to describe it as it's metal you can headbang to, but also dance to.
Right. It's sort of like kind of like a what would you say, like a Poison crossed over with Whitesnake with a female vocalist, right? You know,
something
so a bit more technical.
Yeah. There's a lot of cross I don't know, mixed fabrics, I guess you can say it. Like I'm a big fan of drums, and their drummer Cleveland, he's from Panama, and so he's a crazy technical player, you know, very capable. But I've always found that a lot of metal drummers, sometimes they forget the importance of groove and rhythm. And he really gets the two worlds, you know, like he's got crazy technical parts, but he understands, he's got beats that do make you want to, you know, dance at, like you're at the club kind of thing.
When I think of like groove, like when you're talking about that, like there's a song that basically got me into Soundgarden. I think it was like Jesus Christ Post, right? Like when it's oh no, I think it was Rusty Cage. I wanna break my rusty cage and run. Dun, 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 dun. You know, that bridge, sort of like, you know, that grind. And I think a lot of people forget that sort of hook, and that sort of like there's a rhythm to that. And now it's like music's like just one tone, just goes to the like that all the way through, rather than like a bit of down, bit of up, and like getting people into an emotional journey. Whereas before it used to be like taking you on a journey, where now it's like, yeah, we're just going to go that way. And like one of the worst things that could happen to music happened last year when a band, famous band, right, lost their computer, right? And that was it. It's like, we can't play. I'm like, is this where we're at in the new world thing when it comes to music? You guys cannot play as a band live without a computer, you know, without your discs, which just basically means that you rely upon the technology aspect of your music that you're creating as a band more than you guys as musicians as a band. And that sort of like kind of exposed the whole so-called new era of music, which is kind of sad because you know, the band, I heard one of their songs, I think it was Frankenstein's, and I thought like I really loved it. But then to like have that same band come across, oh, we can't play it live without a computer, right? Or these discs that got stolen. It's like, well, that just shows that you guys don't trust yourselves as musicians to create the same sounds on stage. Why would you put so much elements of technology into your music if you can't play that live? You know, it's like Kiss doing friggin' you know, Kiss still trying to make millions on stage by doing computer backup vocals, right? It's like, just stop. You made your billions, right? Just stop. You don't have to do this. But it's like we want to play forever. It's like, but you can't, right? You just can't. So stop. You know, it's like it's like when they were rolling out Stan Lee in his 90s, you know, in his wheelchair to sign shit. And I'm like, please stop exploiting him.
Just let the man be old.
You've eaten like half, you know, his whole adult life. Now just let him go, you know, not put him out to pasture, but actually let him enjoy the last few years of his life in peace. And it just feels like nobody wants to, you know, give up anymore, or like actually really be, you know, like when I'm saying, like when I'm lying on my bed, because usually I'm just lying with that, you know, nothing plugged in the middle of the night, strumming away on my, you know, on picking away on my bass, and it's just, I'm trying to get rhythm, right? It's got to work. It's got to sound good to me acoustically, even before I put the friggin', you know, lead in, because whatever I'm doing, I'm never going to play in front of people until I'm ready to, you know, if it works for me, you know, if I get my timing right and all that, so that I'm not going to rely on somebody just having to plug my, you know, that if you know, if the power goes off or something goes wrong with one amp and I plug it into another amp, it's fine still. You know, it's like I don't have all these fuzzers and all that to make it work. However, I love that, right? And I think that part of technology, part of like pedals, is the fucking almost awesomest thing to me that has ever happened to music. You know, where you can have this amazing sound that can come out, but still, you still got to be able to play the friggin' instrument. And I think that's cool. And that's why I was listening to your music right at the start first, to see like, is it just another one of the, you know, modern bands, or is it something a bit more stylish and bit more that stands out, right? That's actually a band that plays, you know, not someone that's got like a, you know, backing tracks or something going on. Because
no tracks, no clicks.
And
we don't use any tracks or clicks. Another reason is because there's a very spontaneous and organic element to our live show. Like certain songs, I don't even have pre-parts that, you know, that are written, set in stone. And every time we go out, it's a little bit of, oh, what am I going to play tonight? Sometimes when it lands, it's perfect. Sometimes it doesn't. You know, you just hope that when somebody in the crowd's filming and going to throw the video on YouTube, you nailed it that night.
Yeah.
But I love that. You know, it's kind of, to me, it's like watching somebody walk the tightrope at the circus with and without a safety net.
Yeah. That's why you go to watch live bands, because you want to see how good they are. Do they sound as good as they do on their records, if they have a record, right? Because it's all, or they put out a music video, are they doing it live? Like recently, I hadn't been out to a live band for ages, and I went and saw Shepherd's Reign, right, a New Zealand band. I think they just toured Aussie late last year, and so before they went over there, I was able to see them here, and they came across my Facebook, and I was like, who's this? And like I went and checked it out straight away. Within 24 hours, like within like a couple of hours, I was like buying the ticket, going to see them, because it's a thrash metal band, it's a New Zealand band, and they play really good. and I went and saw them, you know, and I got signatures and everything. And now I got to get the freaking record because I just kept getting distracted by not getting the record or the CD. But seeing a band perform live is, you know, as a fan of them, somebody's, you know, of that band's music, is probably the pinnacle of like buying a comic book from a, you know, from the writer that you like, right, or the artist that you like, because, or getting the signature on there, right, because now you get to see the person in real life. And I think, you know, you got to be able to, you know, because you got the other side, like we were talking about convention and taking, you know, taking Gods Among Men to Supernova, and that having that, in, you know, in real life sort of connection with the community doesn't probably might not know you outside of Facebook or outside of what they've seen with comics, with the promotions or with outside of Kickstarter, but now they get to see you just like they see your band live perform live. Now they get to see you, meet you, as you guys are the writers and your artists, if he's there, work on the comic book and see them, you know, it's like the same deal, like, you know, performing live in front of people. Hey, this is my comic book, this is what it is that we're writing about. And I think, you know, you can't say, oh, we aren't able to do this because we don't have our computer to show you the digital comic that we put out.
Yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, that's a great comparison, actually. Yeah, like you really should be able to, you know, stand on your own feet. You know, like I love music, and I've seen probably more gigs in the past year than I ever have, and I've heard bands that play with tracks, without tracks, and you know, you can tell. Like, I think there's always going to be something that hits different when a band is playing without tracks. You know, there's a very in the moment, that atmosphere. You know, there's a connection, right? Like Josh said, you know, you've got that tension of like, do they make it? Do they not? And, you know, when they do nail it, oh, it's, you know, and, you know, especially, and that's the thing as well. I think it forces bands to be better, you know, to do better. Because you go, if I have a safety net, the shows, every single show is the same. Every single, you know, it's just kind of, I don't know, plateau. But there's a reason why people, you know, like Metallica comes to town, and there's fans who literally buy tickets to every single show. Yeah. You know? And yeah, I really admire that as somebody as a fan of music. And then I can sit in the back with the comic, and, you know, my biggest regret is I'm there trying to promote the comic, which I love, but I also want to be in the front row. Yeah.
So how, like, talking about the promotion side, so with the merchandising, what do you guys offer, like, in the sense of merchandising? Do you have an online store or something for the band itself, or do you have like a website just for the band?
Not at the moment. At the moment, the comic is only available at shows. Although for, you know, some of our friends and fans, we've made exceptions and, you know, managed to get a copy mailed out to them.
Or by special request.
Yeah. But yeah, far and large at the moment, we're only selling them at the shows. Once we get to what we're going to do is the latest issue will only ever be available at shows. And then the back issues will start to become available digitally online, and also you can order physical copies too.
Right. So, with the band having a kind of theme, like, you know, what is that theme of the band? Because, you know, we talked about like how they, you know, they've got a comic because they make, what is it called? You know, with a mask and stuff. What is the story behind that sort of?
Okay. Well, basically in the comic, Anna's character is what you would imagine as a goddess from another realm.
Right.
And she's come to, you know, Earth, like our dimension, to recruit, you know, 4 champions of hers.
Her motives are unknown.
Yep. Similar to Gods Among Men, like, we know where this comic ends. You know, we've got a massively long arc where we want to take it, and the in-betweens, we have certain key moments that we want to do, but, you know, we'll run it for as long as we feel like we've got something to say.
I think as a comic, our approach is, because we're big fans of how manga handles stories and character development and power development. Like, Josh brought up to me this thing where he said his biggest, actually, maybe you explain this part and I'll continue from there.
I think my favorite writer is Masashi Kishimoto of Naruto and Boruto, and I love how, you know, from the very start he shows you where it's gonna end, and you're just left with questions. You know, you don't understand how it gets to that. Yeah. So when we started Anna being, you know, with Gods Among Men, it's based off real events, so we know the story. But when we started Anna, I said we need to develop where this ends. You know, how we get there, we can take our time, but we need to know where we're going.
Right. I think on the point of you know, how we want to design and sort of develop characters is that I remember Josh said to me once, he said his problem with a lot of Western superheroes is they kind of have set powers and then it caps there. Like, you know, Spider-Man shoots webs, climbs walls. His upgrade isn't he can shoot more webs and climb faster, you know. There was a little bit of stagnancy in the way they were designed, whereas in a lot of manga they tend to start out with sort of maybe some basic powers, but then they learn new moves and they start to upgrade and power up, you know.
Right.
It's you know, expanding on character development. I think there should also be, like, you know, this power scaling where they, as on a physical level, develop as well and grow.
Because I like to describe it as it's got like the spirit of manga but told with Western art style.
Right.
And I've been waiting for the noise to die down, so I could have some time